Segment 3, Golden Black Live. It's just me and the coach, so to speak. Coach Gene Keady on the line, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. But he was in West Lafayette last week, obviously, for the weekend and the football game, etc., and some appearances. Coach, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. It's fun to be on it.
You and I talked yesterday for a story that we're working on for Golden Black Illustrated. It's funny, Coach, when I get the opportunity to do stories on you, and then I have the pleasure of talking to the Greg Eiferts and Justin Jennings, spoke with yesterday, and Brian Cardinal this morning. You're getting to the point where this legacy of yours is not shrinking; it seems to be growing. What's that mean to you? The fact that these players have a wonderful affinity for their experience, at least looking at it from the lens of being a little bit older and a little bit more mature.
Well, it means everything because your legacies are usually something that's positive, and all the players that I've coached now are on their own, making success stories of their own. So it's been a lot of fun and very enjoyable and exciting to watch these players be successful in their own right.
Yeah, and you have had a few of those. I know you always at your state in life, you're not going to answer who your favorite players are, and we understand that, but certainly you've had some colorful ones over the years, and we've talked about many of them that have been ones that have challenged you as a coach, but have delivered on that. Talk about some of the ones that you may have tested you as much as a coach, but you've turned around and grown to love and respect them during and after their playing days.
Oh, wow, that's a long list. Kurt Clausen, of course, comes to mind first. He's a congressman now in D.C. We have 8 Division I coaches, men and women, around the country that are very successful, and Carson Cunningham at Carroll College in Helena, Montana. So I'm proud of all these guys. They all are excellent coaches and are making a name for themselves, and it's fun to watch. I go in and watch them once in a while, and I'd like to go to all the games, but I can't go to all of them at once.
And we're getting some questions in about what you want to do down the road. You have had a lifetime in basketball, a lifetime in athletics, and obviously a professional career of coaching basketball that goes back a long time. And yet, obviously, after St. John's this past year, you said yesterday that you would still, if the right person called you and the right situation came up, you'd still be interested in coaching. Now, talk about that a little bit and what that lifestyle of being a coach after being a head coach has been like for you.
Oh, that certainly is a possibility if somebody would want me, because I still enjoy teaching, and I've gone to Myrtle Beach high school practices and watched them, and then I go now. Cliff Ellis is a good friend of mine, the coach here at Coastal Carolina. I went to his practice yesterday, so it's something I still enjoy, and if somebody needed some help, I certainly would like to do that again, like I did with Coach Lavin.
Can you see when you go to Coach Ellis's practice like yesterday, and you've had that experience, obviously, working for Steve Lavin, that the expectation isn't necessarily to get out and he's got to run the practice. Cliff Ellis has to run the practice. But do you get tempted to? Do you still see things the same way you did in terms of what guys aren't doing in terms of effort or their skill set or fundamentals? Does it still come to the forefront to you just as easily as it always has?
Oh yeah, when I watch a practice, I want to tell them you got to touch the lines when you're running a 2.5, or if you're running 16 in 1 minute, or if you close out on a player, you're not getting both hands up. So I'm always tempted to say something, but I just shut up and watch and enjoy it.
Do they come back? Does Coach Ellis ask for, like yesterday, ask for a little briefing of what you saw? Did you have that opportunity to do that, or is that truly a case of when asked you'll say something and when not you don't?
Well, yesterday Cliff asked me to meet all these players, so I shook all their hands and wished them luck. And I don't interfere with any coach's philosophy. I just like watching them and enjoy their company. And Cliff's a special guy because he's also a singer here in Myrtle Beach, so he has a band and does some entertainment too. So he's really a special guy and a great coach because he's coached at several universities.
Yeah, we've had questions about some of the guys that guys that you coached against at in your days at Purdue. And other places, some of the toughest memory. Somebody talked about Scott Skiles, a guy that I know that Purdue was interested in at one time in terms of recruiting. But guys that you have found, maybe your all-opponent team, or some of the guys that you still think about in terms of an opponent that was extra tough on you as in your days in West Lafayette.
Oh, wow, there's a lot of those, too. So I don't have anyone. Isaiah Thomas was really tough at IU my first year at Purdue, of course, and Scott Skiles, as you said, is a great player. Illinois had several kids that were all Big Ten, so Iowa had a lot of players that went to the NBA. So there's so many. Michigan, Fab Five. Of course, I get tickled when I hear about the Fab Five on 20/20 or 30/30 on TV, and how they would stand there at the free throw line. We were beat ahead of them a few points, and they'd ask Todd Foster, "Who are you guys?" And, it was one of those things where our players were always very competitive and together, and they could beat great teams because we had so much, competitiveness in our spirits, and our practices were always probably harder than our games. So it's been fun to watch other players, too, become successful.
Yeah. And you have had, I go back to that game, I think it was 1992, and the Fab Five the first time around when they were freshmen, the team that went to the national championship game, and Cornelius McNary and some other guys. That was a team that went up to Michigan and was able to play very, very well against them, and that's something that you look back and say that's been your trademark. Teams that weren't expected to win sometimes able to do so.
Yeah, it was one of those things where probably one of the most enjoyable things about the Big Ten was that you knew that you had to be at your best if you're going to win on the road, and that was always a great challenge. Fans were always great to me, and the other venues. Met several people who said they used to boo me, and I said, well, if you were booing me, it must have been because we were beating you. So I had a lot of fun with the fans in opposing arenas, too.
Oh, you absolutely did. The question about, obviously you played at K-State as a football player in the Pittsburgh Steelers for a short while. And the story's been told, but what really was the fork in the road for you to not get into football coaching as opposed to taking that basketball path? What happened in your life that allowed that to come to pass?
Well, when I came back to Kansas from the Steelers, the job opened up at Beloit High School that was late August, so I got that job as a high school teacher and coach. And one of those opportunities was, I was assistant football coach to Bill Campbell at Beloit. And then my last year at Beloit, my seventh year, I was the head coach, and we went, I think it was 6-1-1 or something like that. So then when I went to Hutch JUCO, I was the defensive back coach for John Matosh for 9 years. So I coached football for 16 years before I really just went basketball. But I played basketball in college until I was a junior, and then when I went to K-State, I concentrated on football and baseball. So it's an opportunity to do a lot of things that help you in your endeavor. Like in coaching basketball, I learned a lot about track and how to run properly, how to be in condition. I learned a lot about football, how toughness and how to absorb injuries and still play.
Yeah.
And and baseball is a hard game because the hardest thing, I think, the hardest sport to play to be successful is hitting a baseball going 90 or 100 mile an hour. So from all these sports, I learned a lot about coaching.
And coaching, is there any, some people say you coach basketball a little bit, the physical nature of it, like football, but is there any, just from a preparation standpoint, what is transferable in terms of what you have to do to prepare a basketball team? You have 13 to 15 guys on the roster as opposed to football where you have dozens more. What is the real difference there in terms of, is it just an organizational difference? I mean, obviously the sport's different, I get that, but what do you have to do? Is there something from deep down in your bones that you have to be different to coach basketball versus football?
Well, I think the one thing I learned from football coaches was that they're probably better organized because they have more people to get to drills and work into a scrimmage and so on. So they have to be highly organized and make sure their assistants are involved. And that was one of the things I really enjoyed at Purdue, was my assistants were a big cog in our success. So, football, Denny Miller, the trainer at Purdue, always asked me, why do you say huddle up, Coach? I said, I don't know. I did that because I was a quarterback in football, and I was always coaching football, and I'd say huddle up. I just kept that same lingo in basketball. So I learned a lot from the football coaches as far as organization, and from Coach Wooden, because he always gave clinics about practice times and so on. So, we coaches steal a lot of stuff from other coaches, and I had a lot of people to help me build my philosophy.
One of my favorite things in my time as a student manager with you and watching your practices, really for much of your first 3 seasons, is the emphasis of the day. And you would always put that up on the chalkboard and it was a chalkboard in those days, literally sitting in the corner of Mackey Arena, if you can believe that. Where did you come up with that idea? And you see, it seems like, and maybe it wasn't that wasn't reality from my perspective, but you had a lot of different your emphasis of the day didn't just rotate through stock emphasis of the day. There were different ones for throughout the course of the year.
Well, I got emphasis of the day from Tex Winter at Kansas State, because I went to Kansas State after playing 2 years of basketball at Garden City Junior College, and I wanted to go out for basketball at Kansas State, so I went to Coach Winter's office and asked him after football was over if I could come out. He said, "No, you're no good. I've watched you play." So I did watch him practice, because I threw the shot put, and I threw the shot put close to the floor where they practiced, and they had a great team at Kansas State in those days. They went to Final Four, and that was one of the things that got in my blood, was watching K-State win basketball games under Tex Winter. And then he wrote his book when I was working on my master's, and he shared a lot of his chapters with us in his lectures. So I took a lot of stuff from Coach Winter as far as fundamentals and being organized and that sort of thing. And then the lesson plans you learn from your teaching classes at K-State. Lesson plans and practice plans are very similar. So I learned a lot from K-State. Kansas State's very similar to Purdue as far as type of people that you're performing for, how they're interested in sports, and how important education is. So I guess that's why I fit in so well at Purdue, that I was pretty much same type of philosophy at K-State.
That chance, of course, one of your longtime assistants and close friend, Bruce Weber, it's kind of full circle. It has to be, I would think, for you, the fact that he's back at Kansas State and making a good go of it there. You've had a chance to go back there, I would assume, to watch his teams coach, and you watch him, I'm sure, on TV whenever you can. But what about that and that experience of having Bruce down in Manhattan?
Well, that's great. I mean, I was one of the people that highly recommended him there, and they said we've already got him on our short list. So that's who I wanted them to get when he left Illinois. So he's a perfect match for there. And I think that's one of the things I enjoyed about Purdue was Purdue seems to have a knack of hiring people that fit what's good at Purdue. And I was very lucky to be able to work at Purdue under George King, Tulige, and Fred Schaus, John DeCamp, Paul Jensen, on and on and on, Bob DeMoss, Joe Campbell, and Dave Alexander. So I was around good people, and they all pulled for you, and it was a team, and they all wanted you to win, and you wanted them to win. So Purdue was a great opportunity for me, because the people fit what it takes to win and to build on for a family.
Boy, those guys you mentioned, a lot of them cut out of the same cloth as you. Question, kind of a random question. Glenn Robinson, obviously, hard to argue, but the greatest player, one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player in Purdue basketball history. Somebody had asked about the question, when did you find out that he had hurt his back after the win against Kansas and prior to the Duke game? Was he, and I can remember the story some, but did he tell you heading into Duke, or did you find out after the fact that back injury was prevalent for him in that game?
Well, I'm laughing because they always told me that the center from Kansas fell on him the game before and hurt his back.
Tag,
that wasn't it at all.
Yeah.
He was wrestling in his room the night before we played Duke, and the guy that he wrestled with was wrenched his back a little bit. So that was the true story. But, we had our chances. Duke was a great team. We didn't play well enough.
Yeah.
And we're just it's one of those situations where you have opportunities, and we didn't take advantage of it. So Glenn was hurt, but, I'm not sure he was hurt so bad that we couldn't win.
Yeah, that's the right answer. Well, Coach, did today include any golf at all, or when's your next trip to the golf course?
Oh, I just got off the golf course.
Okay, God love you. You came to our show.
Beautiful today here. Played today. I'm going to play again Sunday. My brother-in-law lives here, so I play 2 or 3 times a week. Not as much as I did at Purdue, but because at Purdue you had 26 golf outings every summer with the alumni, and then after I retired, all my golf buddies, I had a lot of them that played. We played every day almost. There was 8 of us, so that was fun after I got out of, off my position at Purdue. But it's never more important than your job, because I always look forward to going to work every day.
All right, well, we'll do that. I know you're working on that 7 handicap, so you'll be all set. So that's good. Hey, Coach, thanks so much for your time. It's always enjoyable, and best to Kathleen as well. And enjoy the good weather down there, and keep sending some of that stuff up here. It's still pretty nice up here in West Lafayette. Coach Gene Keady, thanks again.
I enjoyed last week talking to the Alumni Association.
Yeah.
And seeing a lot of friends and going around to the tailgater, so that was fun.
Yeah, they always look. You're a rock star up here, and I know you are welcome. You'll be up here hopefully in January for some festivities as well with basketball. So I know that the Purdue contingent looks forward to seeing you when you come.
Looking forward to that too. Thank you very much, Al.
Right.
I appreciate you calling.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, we want to thank our sponsors, and that's, of course, Triple X on the hill but on the level, a Purdue tradition since 1925. Hilton Garden Inn, Christy Kuntz and the good folks down there. Hilton Garden Inn, when tomorrow's a big day. Stay at HDI tonight. State Farm agent Trent Johnson, a huge Gene Keady fan as well. And, of course, John Basham. Don't get bigger fans than John Basham and the folks at Basham Rental. And all these folks have been great to us over the years. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week. We may have a little bit earlier start time. We're going to have Coach Sharon Versap on with us. I think we're going to start at 1:30, and it won't be next week. It will be 2 weeks from now, because we will not have a show next week because of the bye week for Purdue football. Also want to thank, obviously, Chris Collar and Allie, and, of course, Gordon Jackson and the folks at WLFI for all their help in putting this show on. If you missed part of it, we'll have replay up here before long, and we thank you for joining us on Gold and Black Live.